All right, welcome back, everybody. We're back to our regular briefing of the Basic Commission, June 7th. We're moving into support services. Frank Pinter.
Good morning, Commissioner. Frank is on vacation today, so I'm starting it off.
So you're Frank.
Well, no, I'm not Frank, but but I'll be starting off for support services. So the first thing that we have is the 2022 budget guidelines, the draft and initial discussion. And this is, I think, familiar to all of you commissioners. The only thing that I would like to change since we talked about it is on the unemployment on page 2, which is I think the 4th bullet down. Or no, I'm sorry, that was the salary and benefits on page 2. The salary and benefits for each new position request. In the past, we have had the salary and benefits on separate lines. And so this, in the budget guidelines, asks that each department put the salary and benefits on one line together for new position requests. So that's just something for the departments to make note of when they're entering their budgets in. And then the change that I wanted to implement from these budget guidelines is on the unemployment, which is on page 3, the second bullet. Oh no, sorry, I'm all messed up. I had the wrong resolution on the overall expenditures, the second bullet on page 3. The overall expenditures will be reviewed in relation to reserve requirements identified in resolution 72-19. So just correcting that resolution number. And then the unemployment on page 2, which is the 5th bullet from the bottom. I want to do the unemployment based on the 2021 budgeted FTEs. Instead of, in the past, we've done the unemployment based on the current FTEs. And so we have to kind of chase that number around depending on if we're adding or deleting employees. So the unemployment rates would be attached as already done for the departments to enter in. So I want to make sure that you're okay with that.
Yeah, we'd all talked about that before. We were positive about that when we discussed it. Commissioners, any issue? None from Kevin, Sharon? Okay. No, we're good on that one, Jennifer.
Great. And then I wanted to ask each of you commissioners if you would like to have paper copies in a binder along with the electronic files.
I do, please.
Okay.
No, not for me. Just the electronic.
Okay. And then Jerry's class. And I'm sorry, electronic for you?
Yeah, just electronic.
Yeah. Okay, so just one binder, great. And then commissioners, I'll be bringing forward the internal allocation rates, the info technology rates, SAO charges, the unemployment, and the motor pool rates we've already briefed, but I think I will have a slight change to that based on the fuel charges. I need to go back and make sure we have enough allocated to everyone. So I'll be bringing forward a slight change on the motor pool rates. So I'll bring those forward all at once. I think I will be ready to brief that next week. And then we can adopt all of this on the 22nd of June, if you're okay with that.
So Jennifer, because we're a year off and we put together our rates, we put in a lot of different monies this year into IT and stuff through the COVID dollars. Is that going to have an effect on them at all and on those rates? Or are we able to separate those out and make sure that the rates stay the same for what we have programmed and not for what we've brought in with specific extra dollars?
Yeah, the CARES Fund money, we ended up not putting that through IT. We ended up reversing those charges out of IT and didn't do a transfer into IT. So that keeps it nice and clean and doesn't muddy up the CARES Fund in the IT. So
we did the expenditure, but we didn't run it through them. Is that what you're saying?
We reversed the expenditure out and put that into the general fund.
Good.
back.
Okay.
Yeah.
That works. It keeps that rate from being impacted.
Yeah. The next thing that's on our list, if you are done with the budget guidelines, that's all that I had on that. So
Yes. Comfortable.
And just one quick item on the budget guidelines, just for the commission. In the guidelines, it's we're projecting that we'll do the 1% property tax and road tax. Last year we made some adjustments, to provide a little bit of relief to our property taxpayers. Just kind of signaling that I think it's fine that it's in the guidelines right now, but if our revenue projections continue to increase the way they are, that I would be open to a conversation about, again, not taking the 1% increase and just sort of evaluating. We still have a few more months until we get into this anyway, but just wanted to put that out there.
No, I'd agree with you, Commissioner. We're at the best financial position this county's ever been in since its history. Inception as a county. It makes no sense to raise a rate on people when we have enough to do with what we're doing.
Right. I would agree. I think that people are struggling as it is, and it's been a difficult year and a half. So whatever we can do to make it a little bit more easy, I guess.
With that being said, can we go ahead and just agree to take that out now?
I'm fine with that unless we want to wait to see. So I think the revenue forecast should be coming up soon.
We also know we also have those other monies coming in. So without a doubt, I don't see where it'd be anything more than gluttony to.
Yeah, I think, since part of the rescue plan is the ability to recover lost fees and some types of revenue, I'm comfortable taking that out, and we can make up some ground there, and just kind of continue to take this year by year, and see where we are.
Are we comfortable doing the same with the road fund?
I am.
Yeah. Yep.
Jennifer?
I'll make that change. And yeah, that's definitely something we can look at later on if you change your minds. The property tax isn't really finalized until November anyway, so that'll be just fine. So I'll make those changes, and then I'll bring it back next week again, and we can take one final look at it, and then plan on adopting and sending it out on June 22nd.
As usual, you do an excellent job, Jennifer. We very much appreciate you.
Thank you. Okay, so the next thing on our list is the take-home vehicle request for Jeremy Seymour. And I don't have anything on that at this time. I'm just waiting to receive some info from Public Works. So hopefully I'll bring that back.
Well, he serves in a position of leadership that comes out of an emergency out there already. I'm just curious why we're even looking at it now when that's been his job.
Because the Public Works vehicles actually don't qualify under the emergency definition by the IRS guidelines. So they actually qualify under the special equipment category. And so I just need the special equipment listing and then the form to be filled out.
So to make sure the gas and stuff like that is on the back of it, like we did in the past.
Yes, exactly.
So he's getting a new vehicle?
No, he just didn't drive a vehicle before. It's whoever is driving a vehicle home has to fill out the vehicle take home request, and then it gets briefed and approved to the board. So I mean, for this position, it's not anything new, but every time there's a change in position, if somebody is now taking a vehicle home that wasn't before, we do it by the person in position, not just the position.
I just thought of something. Is he the one that moved up to take on that other position?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what that is then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the next thing that we have is the response to the RFP. And this is for the the poor and infirm veterans in Mason County. It's the $5,000 that we set aside in the budget. And we went out once for an RFP on February 16th and received no responses. Went out again on April 13th and received one response from North Mason Resources. And so I wanted to go over the response with you and see if you want to.
Jennifer, if you don't mind, for myself, I'm going to ask you a direct question. And would you recommend yes, or would you recommend no, knowing what you have? Because we had some issues there, you were dealing with it. And if you don't feel that it's functional, I want you to say that now, and then we move on. Well, I personally would move on because I brought this forward. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. If you think it does, I'd like to hear that.
I think that it could work as a reimbursement contract, which is how we put it out for RFP. What I would like to, if we do end up doing this, I would like to ask that we write into the contract that reimbursements be no more than quarterly. I think that we could do that in this office, in the budget office. We're stretched pretty thin with the ARPA funds and, COVID, everything that's happening. But yeah, I think that we could do it based on the reimbursement aspect and not fronting the money to them. And I checked with North Mason Resources, and they are comfortable with being reimbursed. They said they have a healthy benevolence fund that they can use to front the money on their end.
Well, with that, I would be comfortable if you're comfortable with those adjustments. Commissioners?
My only concern is making sure that all of the contract with us to them is followed, and that is completely understood.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the obvious is, we don't want to repeat history here. And I think it's an impactful, program, and I think it's funding of it's well-intentioned funding, but at some point we're, spending out probably more than $5,000 in effort to manage this. And so, if you feel like you can, get it to go with the reimbursable and they're comfortable with what they have financially going on with them and their ability to do that, then that's fine. But, just need to be able to get compliance and get the money where it needs to be.
And I also would recommend that you keep track enough to tell us for this next year in the budget process whether it's working or not. And if not, for the next one around, it is what it is. Maybe we find some other better way to get this money directly to them. Or maybe this works now. Let's see. I'll try to be positive.
Great. So I will bring the contract forward. Great. Thank you. The last thing that I have is the Mason County Reserve and Contingency Policy Draft Amendment to Resolution 72-19. And this is just increasing the general fund operating reserve, the county road fund operating reserve, the sales and use tax fund, equipment rental and revolving fund, increasing all of those reserves from 15 to 20% to 15 to 25% of the prior year's expenditures. And then the wording under the budget, we changed that a little bit to include the county's annual general fund budget will be adopted in the positive with expenditures not exceeding revenues, excluding beginning and ending fund balance unless any of the following conditions exist. And that would be the offset of expenditures over revenue is due to one-time expenditures, or the offset is due to conservative budgeting and the net revenue over expenditures for the previous calendar year is at least equal to the amount of the excess in expenditures over revenues in the current budget year.
Wow, that's an interesting caveat.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds really complicated, but
I got it.
Okay.
I understood it. I just, yeah.
But I mean, what's happened the last few years is that we've budgeted pretty conservatively compared to how the economy is doing, and you know, our revenues are coming in way higher, and then you know, the expenditures are coming in about what we planned. But anyway, we have some excess revenue there. So if go ahead.
For the commissioners, the three best things we've done in all the years that we've been here was separation of wages and maintenance and operation, doing away with the 13th month, and then this idea that for the most part, we don't count unexpended budget authority as revenue, where in the past it had been. So just I don't know that Sharon was here when all that was happening, so I'm just sharing that information. That was it has been a very, very, very positive thing. It was done out of necessity because for the first time in history, 1 year that evaporated and nobody had ever seen that happen before, but it did happen. So we've never put ourselves in the position to do that again. Go ahead, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree. I think this is this was a really important policy to adopt, and it's good to see that it's continually being looked at and seeing how it's working in practice. In so many cases, when you come up with a resolution and policy, it's theoretical, and then you have to apply it, and then you have an opportunity to see how it works or it doesn't. And so these are, I think, good edits. One question, I don't know, maybe Commissioner Netherland, you might be able to answer this, or Jennifer, but you know, were there any discussions at the audit committee about what happens if we get over that 25%? You know, in my mind, you know, probably going to be rare that we find ourselves over 25% in reserve. But in those cases that we do, you know, it might be worthwhile for us to consider noting in the policy that goes towards something like debt reduction, paying down debt, which in my mind is the ultimate one-time expenditure that would continue to put us on a stronger financial footing. So didn't know if there were any conversations about that, but I think as we evaluate this might be something that another direction that we should look to head into.
Yeah, and as far as I know, we've never had that conversation, and we already are past that point, Commissioner. We have that already in there. We have that money in there if we wanted to start to do things, and we will especially have that after this new influx of money. But I think that is a wise consideration, and I think that Jennifer, we should introduce that to the audit committee and see if there are ways that they can look at taking advantage of that opportunity, at least at some level, still keeping the idea that things could change tomorrow. I'm expecting some rough times shortly, but I'd sure like to see some of the excess that we're doing now have a home.
So I can bring that up at the next audit committee meeting. We don't have anything scheduled, but I think there is going to be one scheduled soon. So either debt reduction or maybe a capital reserve, possibly.
I just realized Leo's on the meeting. Hi, Leo. If you happen to be listening to us, we'd appreciate if we brought that forward. There he is.
Hello.
Hi, Leo.
Yep, I can work on that for sure.
Excellent.
So commissioners, would you like me to hold off on putting this on the action agenda until we get some wording in there? And then we can move forward again?
Not for that. I think we could always address that as a policy. I'd like to get this 25% thing happening. This way we have it as a protected amount to the side and we don't worry about that again.
Okay, I'll bring this forward then.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that approach, and then we can wordsmith the other part and bring it back.
Okay.
Commissioner Trask?
Yeah, it sounds good to me. It's good to see you. See you, Leo.
Yeah, Leo, we all think you're awesome. Something about it. We like our finance people. Have you ever caught that? I wonder why that is.
That's because they're all pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, it's true.
I've
been through some rough times there, so.
Thanks. We have a good team.
Yep.
Okay, well, I'll bring this forward at next week's commission meeting then, and we can look at doing some other wording for either debt reduction or capital reserves at our next audit committee meeting. So thank you, commissioners. That's all that I have.
Good morning. This is Diane. So I have on there the annexation election petition received from the residents out at Alderbrook Golf and Yacht Club. I'm asking to set a hearing so the commissioners can consider that. I'd like to put it on tomorrow's meeting to set the hearing July 6th because they need to, then it needs to go back to the PUD because they want it to go on the November election.
Kevin, this is your backyard and barbecue. How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's obviously a lot of community support for this. Full disclosure, I'm not a signatory on the petition. I did not participate because I knew it would come back before us. But it's clear a lot of my neighbors think that this is the direction that they want to head. And so I have no issue with this coming before us and triggering the process to get it on the ballot.
Okay.
Okay.
You agree, Commissioner Trask?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, Dan, let's do it.
Okay, and I had one more thing. I don't know if you saw my email this morning. I received from Evan Bowder at the Mason Conservation, the biennium contract from Washington State Conservation Commission for the voluntary stewardship program.
Yeah.
It's been funded from legislature and it's time for the 2021-23 biennium to have a contract in place. And I want to know if we can place that on the agenda on the 22nd.
Please do. I sure don't want to go through doing that from scratch again.
No. And then what it would be is this contract with Mason County and the state, and then the county would contract with the Mason Conservation District for the actual administration of the VSP.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, I'll put it on the 22nd.
Great.
Thank you.
Kelly, you're up next.
Oh, I guess I am next. So I just wanted to come back and briefly talk about space needs for the therapeutic court. It was brought up to you guys' attention by the judges. I just wanted to come back and say that at this point in time, we have no other need for that. For the elections part, it's not big enough. And for the jail part to move over there, it would not work. So I would like to move forward, if it's all right with you guys, to go ahead and move the therapeutic court over there. If you look at the next page off my briefing, you can see I'm just going to build 3 little walls, removable walls that put them right back where they used to be ultimately. And then that would relieve a bunch of space over in the courthouse for Sharon over there.
Kelly, let me ask you a question. Just because he's not here and he may have other ideas or needs for space that we're not taking into account, have you gone over this with Frank?
I have went over this with Frank. I showed him this. Yeah, the only other space needs at this point in time I need. Once we get building 10 completed, then it's going to be a different story. But potentially is to move, unfortunately, west again.
Oh, you're kidding me.
We pick up in west moving so we can get him potentially out of that basement of building 3 and make that a bigger area for the court system down there for the waiting room. So the only other space I need would be for him eventually. With the front side of that building 6, I would like to turn that into just a complete conference room for the county, for we don't have nothing right now. I mean, anything that happens, we've got to try to bump you guys out of the commissioner chambers or something. This would allow for a nice sized conference room to happen over at building 6.
Well, what are you planning on doing with Wes?
I think there potentially is enough room for Wes in building 10 in a corner. I mean, that's a huge building over there. I think we, move in there and leave them where we're at. Maybe we don't need the space as bad as we think if we're going to have so many extra courtrooms. Maybe we don't need that in the basement building 3, and he can just stay right where he is.
Yeah, let's see if we can do that. Wes deserves to be, I don't know.
He's amazing. I mean, he's my hero. There's no
He's
doubt about that.
incredible. He never asks us for, as a commissioner doing budgets for all these years, the tiny little ask he has done has been crazy. He's usually given us money when we've needed it. We've moved him over and over again, and as soon as he's done, it's almost like you put up a wall or take down a wall, and you think, hey, the patio, I can put another wall there. We just keep moving the guy over. It breaks my heart because they're so awesome. So if we can keep him, I'd rather keep him unless we put him into something that is much better. He deserves much better, and maybe we move public defense into one of these buildings and give him the public defense building, and then we don't ever bother him ever again.
No, I agree. I 100% agree with you there. I would like to find either that'd be a permanent home or a permanent home forever and ever, and be clear of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Poor Wes.
Yeah.
So, thumbs up. I can go ahead and move the therapeutic courts over there and get that done.
Yeah, I'm good with that. I think it makes sense.
Commissioner Schutte?
Yeah, that's.
All right,
I'm okay with that.
Let's do it.
Okay, thank you so much. That's all I have.
Okay. Ross.
Good morning, commissioners. How are you guys doing?
Incredible.
Fantastic, fantastic. What I'm bringing forward to you guys is something that's just an informational at this point. On May 26th, I had a representative from Capital Business Machine come in and show us a disinfecting machine that's called an R0 Arc UV light disinfectant. And basically what it is using 8 bulbs in a large lighting fixture that can be moved around. It's portable, that can be used for any kind of the COVID response for us cleaning after different things that have gone on, and during parts of the days when you need to clean up property or clean up a room from viruses. Looking at it, it does not take very long. A 30 by 30 room, which is approximately 900 square feet, takes about 7 minutes with this device. It is something we could possibly use like first thing in the morning, middle of the day, and then maybe at the end of the day to disinfect a larger room, which I'm thinking maybe something like using this in building 10 for the 2 large courtrooms that are back there, and maybe also in the other courthouse, the old courthouse, using that as a disinfectant for it. Price-wise, we're looking at approximately, I believe it was 26,212, plus there is yearly maintenance that goes along with it. They do offer a lease option. If we lease it for 36 months, it's still looking about $26,000. This is something that can be charged off to the COVID dollars. Even though we're coming into the kind of the slow end of the COVID, this would have been nice to have this several months ago, probably before we, when we're deciding on how we're going to open up and make sure things stay clean. We do have a contract already in place with people that are going to go around and do the cleaning for the high touch areas. This machine doesn't use any chemicals, and it's also, like I said before, it's portable. We can buy one and use it in multiple locations. So it's just something for you to look at, see if you'd be interested in it, and if you'd like me to set you up with a demo.
Me personally, I would hesitate to move forward on this at this point in time. There's so much that we're learning about the new virus, that I would hate to purchase something for $26,000 and then yearly maintenance and then have it just sit and not be used. To me, that's just a waste of good money. So I don't know. I would like to hold off.
Mr. Schutte.
Yeah, initially I'm skeptical, as well, but I guess the counter argument that I would make there is, and why I'm interested and maybe want to think on this a little bit more is, even COVID aside, this could have a benefit for the courts in particular during regular influenza season. And there could be other. We're a petri dish, in a lot of ways. We have a lot of people coming and going, and in particular during the winter months, when cold and flu season is really rocking and rolling, this could be a benefit. But I want to think on it a little bit more.
I'm under that same thought. When I first saw it, it was like, come on, give me a break. But the more I think about it, the more I thought the courts automatically, we've had the judges and they've had their worries all the time. So I keep thinking to myself and bringing it in there, but I was thinking more along the lines of not just the flu, but the future. We don't know what else is coming. And there's a good opportunity, a good chance that if this has the effect that it does on what I'm reading here, it could possibly have an effect for something in the future. Because things although things change, they stay the same. Things that kill it quite often still kill it. So I'd like to continue to look at it. I'd even maybe go as far as maybe want to have them show us what it does and give us a full breakdown of it before I completely write it off. That it would be covered by COVID dollars, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So with that, I'd like to continue having the conversation and perhaps see a presentation and then discuss it again, because I'm not 100% sure I don't like spending $26,000 on anything.
Okay. I think that makes a lot of sense. The interesting thing, is going to be when COVID is fully in the rearview mirror, all of the different kind of COVID tchotchkes that we still have, left over from, the queue list system to all these different things that we've implemented. It's going to be really interesting. And, but I think there's been a lot of different innovations that are worthwhile considering.
Yeah, this thing doesn't look that hard to maneuver and bring it around. I could see us bringing it to a high school gymnasium that we're going to have a forum in and preparing the room for people before we let them in, for things like the flu and stuff too. I'd like to know for sure that they say that, all the different things that affects that we deal with today, we're never going to know what tomorrow's going to bring us. And we'd be kind of just setting for a hope. It'd sure be nice to be in front of something instead of behind it for a change when these type of things come up.
The background on this is the only reason I have this here is because of one of the schools. North Mason has purchased these for all their
schools. Oh, is this what North Mason took? Yes. Okay. I just heard about all this, and that's one of the reasons why I kept it in my head. Okay, they're the first. They're starting to go out to show everybody else how it works.
Right. Also. Them in Clark County, all the Clark County schools have got these, and it's, it would be interesting to see what exactly everything that it will do, sort of like for the future. We'll take care of cold, viruses, stuff like that. But yes, I do agree also with Sharon. This is a lot of dollars. Is there something else that we need that would be more effective or more pertinent at this time? So I'm pretty game. So if you'd like me to set something up for you guys, I can do that with the owner.
I'd like to see a presentation.
Okay.
Sure.
Kevin?
Yeah, I'll sign up for a presentation.
Sharon, would you mind indulging us in a presentation?
No, I don't mind.
Are they gonna do a black light in one of our, one of our rooms and completely scare the heck out of us? And
God, I hope not.
Some things you don't want to know.
Let's find out what the presentation is all about and then decide.
Okay.
The one that always gets me is when they took that black light in the bathroom and you see it on the ceiling and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
What the heck?
All righty. I'll take care of that and get that all lined up through Diane. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Do we have anything else for support services? I have a recommendation. Before I go to Commissioner Trask, is there any other staff that had anything? Hearing none. Commissioner Trask, you had something on Memorial Hall?
Yeah. So at our meeting, our last Memorial Hall committee meeting, it was brought up that the building is still being rented out if possible. However, there's really no space on the calendar for it to be rented out. It's already full. So we would like to bring it before the commission to ask for for that to be removed. So the renting opportunities be removed as there's no time on the calendar at all.
Is it possible for you to bring us a calendar? The reason why I say that is I used to be on that committee, and the community has counted on that over the years for weddings and other things, and it's one of the only things that we actually give them an opportunity to use that way. When I was on that board, we actually talked about renting it out and letting them manage it and keep part of the proceeds for the upkeep of the building and for future aspects of development of the building.
Yeah, we can bring a calendar forward. Maybe at the next meeting, we'll bring it forward and let you look at it. It's already rented out by 4-H and by, a lot of the nonprofits. So finding opportunities for people to have weddings is it's difficult, but we'll bring forward a couple months of the calendar so you can take a look at it.
Now, are you recommending that we, because you said no longer rent it out, is there a recommendation or request to get rid of 4-H and all these others, or
No,
then
absolutely not.
are we talking about just changing the rental to specific groups?
It would be you would keep who is on the calendar already, because we're obligated, and like the 4-H, Kelly helped me here. It's the AA.
Yeah, so we have the nonprofits in the thing that are allowed to use that. So we have, the NA, the AA, the 4-H, the
MasterCard
club
names.
that comes and does some cooking stuff in there. Of course, all the veterans things. By the time that's done, the calendar is pretty much booked forward. We do have people that are calling all the time wanting to rent that, and we just end up turning them away all the time. So I think the ask was, so we don't have to continue turning people away, just to, at this point in time, freeze the renting of the memorial and continue with any nonprofit that needs it to come in and use it.
Well, one of the things that's sad about that is I know for a fact, because of different issues that occurred, that we were turning away people even when there was space. I know that, and I know it's not a question, because we went through and got that rectified, that it was not rented, and they just weren't taking in the rentals and decided not to. They're blocking things off. So that's one of my concerns on it. It did happen, and that was just this last year. And I went through that with Frank and everything else. And if but what I understand is we're not talking about not renting it, but changing the structure to rentals to maybe nonprofits.
Correct. It's already at the nonprofit status,
Right.
where anybody nonprofit, as long as there's an opening, can use that, and we do not even charge for that.
Right. I didn't know that there was an issue before. Too bad I didn't know, because that's kind of my committee.
Yeah.
But I would.
I think the issue was internal here, not there, in the county, from what I understood. But again, I took it to Frank, as I should, and Frank went through and handled all that at the time.
Okay, I'll talk to Frank about that.
Yeah.
See what that was all about. But all I know is that it's really difficult at this time, because it's the calendar is very full. We'll just bring forward a couple calendars, Kelly, and
Sure.
share that with the commission.
Well, and you may not have to do that, because I think it's a different understanding of what we're talking about here. If we're talking about renting it out, then we're talking about renting it out. If we're talking about changing it to only nonprofits can rent it out, then we're talking about changing to only nonprofits. I don't think we need to be or want to be in a position of saying only nonprofits that we choose.
Yeah, I don't think that we're saying that.
I think a lot of it is sometimes maybe it's on the calendar that this veteran group's using it this day, and this is happening this day, and this is happening that day. Well, maybe sometimes them don't always happen. So, but it is on the calendar. So, I mean, that might be a part of our issue too.
Yeah. No, what I meant by that is if we're going to keep, and I meant no disrespect, Commissioner, what I meant is if we're going to keep AA, NA, 4-H and stuff like that, and not rent it to others, then we're selecting who gets to use it. Where I believe we need to have a policy that says nonprofits or not, but we don't want to pick which ones of these nonprofits can use it and nobody else. Is my point. That's what I'm saying. So if we're going to have a discussion about not renting it, then I think the discussion needs to be about not renting it. Or if the discussion is just nonprofits, then the discussion just nonprofits. That's all I'm saying.
Okay,
Kevin?
so
Go ahead.
let's just bring forward the calendar and we can take a look at it, and that way everybody is aware of who's renting it and why.
Perfect. I can get that done.
All right, thank you.
Okay. On a different note, for commissioner discussion, I have a new little paper up on my wall up here, and I'm not sure where it came from. I was curious. And there's only one person in this building that may have heard me quote, "The courage is being scared as hell and still saddling up." And I was just wondering if I can see on your face you didn't put it in here, so I don't know who would have brought it in here. Somebody brought it in after the speech and put it up my wall. So thank you. It's cool. All right. Anything else on commissioner discussion? Then we're going to go ahead and move forward with, I believe it was community development. Yep, community services, Dave Windom.
Hey, good morning, commissioners.
Morning, Dave.
Well, we had an interesting weekend. A little rain, a little sunshine, a lot of wind. So we need the rain, though. This will extend our burn season, and that'll help. Okay, so we have a number of issues to get through today. So I'm going to brief for Lydia on the first thing is the Medicaid Transformation Project Partner Contract. Say that 3 times fast. And this is just an extension of the money we've been receiving from Cascade Pacific Action Alliance and Choice Network over the last couple of years. And this funds our opioid outreach program. We earn dollars quarterly by meeting our deliverables. And you see the deliverables we have are on page 7. So it's kind of an outline of what we're doing and our level of confidence on how we can get through those. And we've been doing very well with that. I think our opioid outreach program has been exceptional. We're meeting people where they are. I mean, literally where they are. They come, we take our mobile outreach to them. So, and we're looking to expand some of that in a way that would respond and get people from where we meet them to treatment and get them enrolled. So, like I said, this is an extension of a current contract. Not much has changed other than the dates.
Okay, where are you sitting, commissioners? Any issue?
Nope, it's good with me.
Commissioner Trent? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I talked over you.
Said no, it looks very good.
Okay.
Okay, so we will move that to the action agenda. And next on the agenda here we have Alex and Kel.
Alex?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think this is
Sorry.
the
Sorry, my phone just started ringing right when so I was like trying to turn that off. And, I'm going to go ahead first and do the one without Alex because it'll lead into it. If that's okay. So I wanted to just give a brief recap on the lien process that the community development team and folks from Alex's team participated. There were 6 participants. We had Jeannie McFarland as the permit tech lead, Julie Lewis in planning, Todd Cunningham in building department, Rhonda Thompson from environmental health, Julia, and I can't pronounce her last name. I just call her Julia Gulia, but her last name is not that, but it's similar. And she's from IT, and apologize for that, Julia. And who am I missing? Kathy Chaussee from our accounting. So they participated over a 2-week period. It was 30 hours of work in 14 different sessions. And they looked at the process with Stephen Thompson from the state auditor's office. And I have to say, he's an incredible person. And I think he was perfect for our team. And I could tell he really enjoyed working with the team. And I got to work with him every afternoon. We did a recap. I did not participate on the lien process, but I did, get to hear a review each day and then a recap at the end. And we were really fortunate to be able to have his services. So I can't say enough. If any other departments in the county get an opportunity, take it without a doubt. So I have to thank Frank Pinter for pulling that together, and he was our sponsor. What came out of it, they looked at the process from permit intake to permit issuance and kind of broke things down, kind of focusing on the permit intake piece, and also using our SmartGov as our permit tracking system, looking at that piece as part of it. We did learn that we have a lot of opportunities for improvement, but we also learned that we do a lot of things really well and we're not completely broken. And the current state of economy has really just bombarded us, and we're getting staffed up thanks to the commissioners. And I think we'll see a lot of improvement by the end of the year. The team did come up with a list of 47 tasks. So there are 12 major tasks and then several subtasks. Each one of those has a check-in date and a completion target date. It also names an individual that's going to lead that piece to make sure that it gets done. And there are sometimes just a single person, and sometimes the entire group, and other times it's just one or two or three people that are tasked with completing that. So we have our first meeting, I believe next week, where we're going to start meeting weekly with the whole lean team, including myself, and to just kind of stay on target. And then eventually we'll go probably, every couple of weeks or once a month, just as necessary. So I wanted to share that. I know we've talked about it with you guys individually, and I'm sure I brought it up in other briefings, but this is just more of a formal one. Don't know if you have any questions you'd like to ask or.
Kel, will we see a formal report from the auditor's office? Is there?
There is. I did receive that, and I'd be happy to send that to you through email if you'd like.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. I'd like to kind of.
There is the list of the tasks and subtasks in the Excel spreadsheet, and the other piece is really interesting. It prints out really largely. I printed it off on 11 by 17. And so you'll want to see it on your own screen, but I'm going to go old school and share this with you, but because this was done virtually, I guess in the real world, I want to find the sheet because it's really interesting.
So they did the whole lien process virtually?
It was virtual, and they used a program. So they were all on Zoom. Now, the team here met in the conference room downstairs in our building. So they were all meeting together. And then Stephen Thompson was at the state office. But he was able, there's a program that's called Mural, and it kind of mimics the sticky note concept. And so I'm just going to show you. These are little mini stickies. And that's what they did throughout the week. So it was a ton of work. They literally broke down every little thing that they do into individual things and tried to give a name to each process. So I will send that to you. It'll make more sense when you get that email. And then happy to follow up with you individually if you have additional questions.
So Kel, there was a phrase that you used when you were talking to me about the weeds and the flowers.
Oh, yes. That's kind of what with SmartGov. So when we transferred from Tidemark to SmartGov, and there was an implementation process. It didn't go that smoothly, but we have the program, it's working for us. It could be improved, and that's why we have Julia working with us through IT, which is awesome. So I have full confidence that we'll get through it. But I was describing to Sharon, it's kind of like when my I hate to admit this, but when my husband decided to go ahead and create my wildflower garden for me, he wasn't all that careful as I would have been to get rid of all the weeds first. So he did his best, and he dumped a bunch of dirt on it and then threw the seeds in there, and I got lots of beautiful flowers, but I also had lots of weeds. And so what I did this year is I just started all over. I got rid of everything, all the weeds and the flowers. And now I just have some wildflowers starting to pop up with very minimal weeds. But with Smart Gov, it's kind of like, we can't dump it. We can't just get rid of it and start over. And so we're just kind of trying to pick out those weeds while saving the flowers. And so it may take a little bit longer, but it is what it is, and we'll get there. And so that's it.
I think that one hit home because I love to garden. and typically you don't remove everything, because underneath you've got a really good solid foundation. And so why you don't want to remove everything but just the weeds. So to me, that analogy just it struck a chord. So thanks.
So Kel, if I would appreciate if you send me everything that you can get me on it. Me, I like all the little parts as well. Want to give a little extra prop to Commissioner Trask, as she's been pushing that we do this lean process more with all of our entities. And with that being said, and finding out the success of this one, I know that Frank is not on here, but Diane is. Diane, could you please note and help us get a hold of Frank and help us find a way to send out an invitation to all the different departments that we can now please start taking advantage of this opportunity. And we can show them a structure of what it looks like when it's done. It's a lot easier to ask a department or other electeds to do something when it's already been done once and they can see what it looks like.
And to know that it was a success.
Yes. Okay, what else you guys got?
I just want to.
Okay, so then
hold on, Kel. Kevin?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Real quick there. One thing that I think we ought to do as well, and this is just I think a courtesy thing, is if we could get a letter drafted from the commission to send to the state auditor to thank her for allowing us to take advantage of this service. We've been, I think all of us are aware of some of the criticisms that we've received, in that department, in particular over the past few months. And it's not from a lack of trying or a lack of motivation or anything like that, but it takes a tremendous amount of, I think, professional humility to welcome in a state agency to come in and tell us how we can improve. And so it's just a really a credit to Kel and your staff for being willing to dig in. And I think one of the things that we really lacked, and that it sounds like this is going to address that I'm really excited about, is getting that synergy refired in your department over there, Dave. Between environmental health, between building, planning, and permitting, but also being able to pull in IT, more effectively and more regularly. And I'm really excited to see that sort of interdepartmental synergy that's developing, and really have a high level of confidence in the folks that we have over there leading this office and being a part of the turnaround. And so just really appreciate you being willing and open to it. And I think the county is going to be better for it.
Okay, Kel, now you're up.
Okay. So this leads into my next request, which involves Alex, because we're asking to close down community development on Wednesday, August 25th, to do an all-staff training. And we've invited Alex's team, so he's in his staff, public health, will not be closed that day, but they'll still be open, but his staff will not be available. And we'd like to just follow up, on the lien process, and also we'll be, as the date gets closer, we'll draft an agenda that will be available. But now that I'm saying that, I think I'd also like to ask permission for IT to loan us Julia, at least for part of the time, if there's the agenda items would include her on SmartGov stuff. So.
And what about that counterpart that you're starting to work with more and utilize in Public Works?
You mean the development services person? So they haven't hired anyone yet that I'm aware of. Although there is a new staff person there that she has done some work, on some of our permitting, and perhaps she would be the one. But yeah, that's a great idea. If they've got someone that will be doing the development services review, I would definitely want them to be invited as well.
Now, I think this has always been successful in the past. Any heartburn with it, commissioners?
Nope.
No. Go ahead.
Awesome. Thank you. And then I just have one last thing for the appointment of Bob Wilkerson. He turned in an application. My apologies. I failed to get the briefing. I was thinking that you guys do the interview first and then the briefing, but I had that backwards. So just briefing so that you guys can interview Mr. Wilkerson and appoint him to the Planning Advisory Commission. We are down 2 members. We have an at-large position and then the district number 3. So he would fill the district number 3 position.
Do you have, Kevin, do you have specific knowledge of this person? And
I believe he's in Fisher Trask District. I don't know him.
Yeah, he's in mine. I think it would be a good idea just to maybe have a conversation with him.
Yeah. Well, if you don't know him, then we should interview him if you recommend him. If you know him well enough to recommend him, then we should. But my feeling on this is an important committee, and if there's any possibility that we should be having further discussions, we should be having further discussions.
I think it's worth having interviews.
Okay. Excellent. So we'll go ahead and move forward with an interview with the person, please. Diane, I think.
And then just for the public benefit, I just wanted to let folks know that there's a special Planning Advisory Commission meeting tonight where they'll be deliberating on the planned action EIS. We had the public hearing on May 17th. And so tonight they're getting the staff recommendation and hopefully voting on their recommendation to you.
So is there a link that people can?
And there is a link on the Belfair EIS webpage from the planning page for the Zoom link. It's 6 p.m. tonight.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Dave, I think it's you now.
Okay, so next up is Alex.
Yeah, good morning, commissioners.
Morning.
I would like to start by saying thank you for that opportunity in August. It's I think that's one thing that I've taken away from Rhonda that participated in that lien process, was that the staff really appreciate the opportunity to get together and learn each other's work and daily duties. And I think overall it results in better service, for the public. So they appreciate that. And I think it's, time well spent. So, but as far as my briefing today, we're requesting an environmental specialist to assist with permitting and enforcement cases related to health violations. So, year to date, we're at about a 47% increase in EH permitting over 2020. We're just swamped, and 2020 showed a 64% increase over permits in 2018, which is the last time we actually added staff to that work. As staff is pressured to, maintain good review times in permitting, our grant deliverables and other pieces that they're responsible for are suffering, which include code enforcement. So in addition, we're struggling to keep up there. And, in April, we took in 30 complaints, new cases. In May, I think it was a little bit under that. And we typically take in around 8 to 12 cases a month. So we definitely have an increase in our code enforcement and our need from the community to address health concerns. I've looked at complaints, and I've talked with Commissioner Trask about this. We have this compounding gap between the number of cases that we receive and the number of cases that we actually close or abate. And, staff is constantly having to prioritize these cases based on the health concerns, because we just don't have the capacity to get out and have the same level of service on every single one of them, which, is disappointing to the public in some cases. And we've received complaints on that too. I can provide more information if you guys need it on this or answer questions. In our community services report that Dave worked up, we had requested 2 FTEs, one to assist with permitting, grant deliverables, one to accommodate these health enforcement cases. Right now, we're just proposing to fill 1 position, and that would be out of our existing posting for a temporary EHS, which we did for a water quality project. But we have some applicants there that we feel like could help here, and it just makes sense to kind of pull it out of this existing posting. So we made this temporary till the end of this year, thinking that we could kind of keep watch of permitting and the amount of work that staff has on their plates, and look to address it, as the year wraps up. And then we also have our 2020 water quality funding positions coming into place, or 2022 water quality positions coming into place next year. So if in fact we decide to end this temporary position at the end of the year, like what's being proposed, they would have an opportunity to apply for one of those positions as well. So any questions?
Kevin looks ready to go. What you got, Kevin?
Yeah, no, I'm completely supportive of this. I think that it's funded through grant funding, or can be funded that way. I think it makes it an important add to your staff. And I like the idea that as it transitions through the end of this year and into next year, that there's the potential that they could hit the ground running in the new water quality program. So I'm supportive.
Commissioner Trask?
Completely supportive. We had a great conversation, and I don't know about the other commissioners, but I'm receiving a lot of calls about environmental health, and I think that it's a big issue, and we need to address it. So I completely support this. So absolutely.
I too support it. I would like to say I would love to see us look at doing a true investment on bringing in a full-time, high-level code enforcement that can do both of those, in the building department and in the health, if that's all possible, with a cross modality, maybe through training. I'd like to talk about finding a way to pay enough to where we could actually steal one instead of having to start from the bottom each time and train them. As somebody's been here for a while, we keep doing it that way. I'd rather have one that we can bring on and keep for many years, because these problems and projects go on and on and on. And as we deal with one, we may not finish it up before that person's gone. And I'd love to see us really invest in this program. But so, no, long story short, I'm definitely in favor of moving forward. So you've got 3 there. What else can we help you with on that one?
So is that, to clarify, we're requesting this would have to go on the next regular agenda. So would that be tomorrow, or is that something we have to push off a week?
It'd be 2 weeks. And I think, it should still, unless the commissioners disagree, I don't think this is something where it's time sensitive that we should just cram it down. I think we should do it the proper manner and put it up for our next meeting.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. It would be on the 22nd. So as long as it's not going to put a to stop work, I would say, yeah, let's just.
Oh, I thought we want them to do a stop work, Commissioner.
Well,
yeah.
Not like that.
Okay, just kidding.
No, we can make that work. Just thought I'd ask. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just kind of clarify on the funding side of it. So we just finished the
process of signing off on the $28 million that was already allocated from OFM to DOH, Board of Health, WSALFO, and that funds a good piece of this. We're working on the next $49 million, which will fund a lot more of this kind of work, to include Group B water system work. So the smaller jurisdictions especially are pushing pretty hard to get a share of that funding that will allow us to do, Group B monitoring, Group B regulation, which the state, several years ago gave us the task of doing, and no funding to support that, and no mechanism by which to gain that funding. So this, hopefully by the end of July, we can come out with an agreement with DOH, and by the end of August have that solidified so we can get that money out to the local jurisdictions as soon as possible. Okay, so next item, and that comes back to me. So the next one is a discussion around the masking and unmasking procedures for Mason County employees. We sent this out a couple of times. It's been through a couple of iterations. The way I've written this, it is almost verbatim from the state directive 1.70. It's the DOSH directive from Labor and Industries. I've included the entire Labor and Industries document that goes along with that. And of course, we're just taking the one piece of this. Things to consider as we look at this: we're trying to avoid the creation of documents. So we're not going to keep copies of folks' vaccination cards, but we would have to keep, if we use attestation, we would have to keep copies of attestation. The city is doing it slightly differently. They are doing, looking at the cards, noting on a log that the cards have been seen, but they're not allowing attestations. They're either are vaccinated or you are not. If we allow the attestation, that gives us a third opportunity. So we have show your card, sign an attestation, or you continue to mask as an unvaccinated employee. So the definitions are in here, and I just want to make sure we cited the actual document coming from DOSH, and that could change in 3 weeks. So I brought this out for your discussion, and if you have any questions.
So along those lines, I saw some reports over the weekend that we had hit the 70% vaccine threshold in the state that was put out by the White House, and seemed to be supported by DOH and Dr. Shaw. Would that, does that change any of this? I mean, that the governor had said that if we hit the 70% threshold, then it would trigger reopening earlier than June 30th.
Yeah, we've not seen any guidance on that, Commissioner. So there's been kind of, as been the whole response, announcements come before the guidance. So, and we don't know what the entire opening package is going to look like. But as far as the 70% goes, yeah, so the feds are tracking 70%. The state's tracking about 67%-ish, but we don't have numbers for the military or the VA vaccinations, which I'm sure would put us over the 70% mark.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I think, obviously we want to get back and that's a really, if that does change this week, then I think we need to be prepared to, implement whatever the guidance is to trigger that full reopening. So in the interim, I would be supportive of, a process where, we can have people unmask if they're vaccinated, just in this, whatever is the simplest from a staff perspective to be able to I hate to use the word track, but to confirm status and do it in a way that's minimally invasive. But I think it all becomes moot when, that switch is flipped anyway. So.
Okay.
Sharon?
Yeah, I don't know. One thing that's been so frustrating for me is there'll be an announcement that this is going to happen, but in reality, this is going to happen. According to what comes from the governor, and I know we push this through through legal as well. I don't know. I just think that things are going to move along pretty quick soon, and things will be open. Who knows whether we will have to continue masking, whether they're going to have vaccinated sections, leaving family members out. I mean, there's so many inconsistencies with what's going on right now. There's also something that the governor brought up on his press conference on Thursday. He talked about natural immunities. And so I just want to make sure that people know that it's not just the vaccine that's protecting you, it's also those that have already had the virus and they have the antibodies. So I just want to, keep that in the forefront of everybody's minds and move forward with what the new guidance will be.
So I guess, maybe my question today would be, how quickly could a process be implemented by which, we maybe not exactly, but follow similarly to what the city is doing and others are doing to get people to unmask, I guess, essentially. How quick do you think something like what you're recommending could be done?
Well, if we just use a paper log for attestations and then attach the attestations to paper log, we could do it pretty much right away. We could have this probably by Thursday. If we get through the action agenda tomorrow, I can certainly bring that to the action agenda.
Dave, wasn't there also some talk about IT working on a program where
Right.
departments could go into and just log as to whether or not they saw the card or that they received the attestation?
Yep. So yeah, we're working with IT and Frank, and I haven't heard back, I guess, this morning. So I mean, we've been in briefings all morning. So we'll be getting with IT this afternoon. But bottom line, if that doesn't work out, we can still do paper copies for the time being.
So I'm still questioning it a little bit. I don't like the idea of, is there any way we can make it as an allowed use instead of a requirement? The idea of having our electeds and stuff like that be the enforcers of this, having the department heads be the enforcers of this and taking on the responsibilities, and the counties having the responsibilities, where instead there could be and I don't know, we could do this, there could be a sheet that they go in and it's still on their own personal trust factor. They go in, they sign the sheet, the leadership can have it, but it's not their responsibility to enforce it, I guess, is my question. I like the idea of voluntary signing of these things. I do not like the idea of forcing it on these people.
Well,
I'm willing to go with the other two commissioners. I'm just telling you that's where I'm at, guys.
I think that I'm kind of like right there with you, Commissioner. I think the challenge is that we're also an employer and have to follow.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the real struggle for us, because I think, we want to do this in a way that's respectful of everybody, people who are, who don't want to, share that information or for whatever reason, and people who are concerned about wanting to make sure they're coming into a safe workplace. It's just that the tough part is that we're not average Joes at this point. We're also employers, and so I think that's why this has been such a complicated thing for us to consider. I mean, I kind of along those lines. I mean, I think that's what the attestation is. That's people are assuming that responsibility as individuals, to be honest and to be good coworkers and team members and answer those things honestly. And the responsibility is on us to provide that opportunity, but it's on them to be honest and responsible with it.
But there still becomes a factor where the manager, the lead, whatever, has to go to them and say, listen, I haven't seen your attestation.
Actually, that's not quite correct, Commissioner. So here's how it would work. So if the manager or elected, whoever says, all right, if you want to unmask, you bring your card to me or your attestation to me. You don't go ask each person. they come to you, bring you their card or their form, and then it's recorded and they can unmask.
But if they go out of the office, they see somebody that's unmasked, they go to them and they say, "I've not seen your attestation." That's what I meant. And you've got an employee that's sitting out there in the front, and the elected or the manager, whatever, comes out and says, "I see you're unmasked, but I don't have anything that shows your card. And I don't have anything that says that you've attested to the fact that you've been."
That's really no different than right now. If I go out in my front lobby and my folks aren't wearing their masks, I tell them put their masks on.
I think this is frustrating me from the beginning. I think everybody has known my position on this. It frustrates me that we have to be enforcers. I'm all about personal responsibility, and I'm not gonna tell you that you have to wear your mask. I'm not gonna tell you that you have to get vaccinated, and it's just frustrating to me that we've had to follow the guidance. I completely agree with Commissioner Schutte and Commissioner Netherland. We have to follow what we're being told. We may not agree with it, and it frustrates the crap out of me. And I fight all the time with WASAC and with the governor's office regarding this, and also DOH. Bottom line is, I think it's going to change this week or next week as to whether or not we have to mask, whether you're vaccinated, whether you're not vaccinated. I think all of that is going to change quickly, and I don't even know that this is going to be a necessary conversation in a week or 2 weeks.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that, and that's why I think that we need to wait and there's no harm, I guess, in waiting to see what the announcement is or when the announcement comes, and pushing on DOH and the governor a little bit more to be clear about what he means when he says the orders are rescinded when you hit the 70% vaccination threshold. I think we need to have some clarity on that. But pending that, it's just, is the consensus then we wait for that, or do we want to have some mechanism in place if that's still a couple of weeks out, to kind of loosen things up a little bit?
So I guess it comes back to my other question. Is it possible to set it up in a manner where it's held but not enforced by certain individuals, but held and the enforcement is done literally by the state if they were to come in and question, and not the individual?
No, probably not, because if you look at page 13 in the directives, it says the employer is required to. So it doesn't give give us any way to get past that.
Okay. Well, then we need to consider getting those sheets out and give them the opportunities, I guess. I wish there was more of a way that, yes, the employer puts out the sheet, gives them the availability for the sheet. It's just the idea of we also want to make sure that no director, no manager, or whatever comes up to them and says, "Listen, I don't see an attestation." And as it goes down the line, each one's going to be questioning whether you were vaccinated or you have an attestation to it. And it shouldn't be that way. I could see maybe the director with that authority or the elected officials only, because the others shouldn't have that knowledge.
So the other thing, because it's, this might be another thing that we should consider doing is, have we solicited the other electeds as to how they would like to approach this in their departments? Maybe for those that are under our purview, we might have a little bit more of a direct, opportunity to do this. But it might be an opportunity also to solicit some input from the other electeds as to how they would like to handle their work groups. I know that adds a little bit more time to the deliberation here, and I know that's probably frustrating for staff who is vaccinated and wants to ditch the mask. I totally get all that, but there might be some insight out there that we're missing, that might be helpful.
Well, and I think we have some time, and I understand frustrations completely on both sides. But I think we do need to ask the other electeds what their preference would be.
Well, that sounds like a decision has just been made to postpone the inaction of this for, sounds like at least a week, except we don't meet within a week, to get input from the other electeds. Is that what I just heard? Had two commissioners say that, or?
I mean, at this point, it might be helpful to know what they're thinking.
Even if would it be possible to just get an email from the electeds?
Oh yeah, I don't think we all need to get together with them.
No.
I think Dave, Dave could probably just do an email to them and solicit feedback, send the L&I recommendation or their guidelines out, and just, this is what we're considering. This is what the state is asking of employers. If you have any feedback, get back to me. It could be just that simple.
And because this is an internal thing, I don't know that we have to pass it anywhere except for in our briefing next Monday. If, our decision to move forward on how we want the county to run as a management process instead of a vote process, if we have consensus.
Yeah, the nice thing about this, Commissioner, is that this is not a policy, it's just a procedure. So I think that does apply to just through briefings.
Yeah. So are we comfortable with that? We will bring it back. He will go forward and ask the other elected officials, bring it back on Monday for a decision point.
Good.
Yep.
Okay, that's what we're hearing. Thank you, David. What else you got?
Last thing, and just for information, I've been working with EDC to kind of align what we're doing, looking forward into June, depending on what the governor does in June about reopening, and how we reach out to the community and try to work together as a community to address the fears of, people who don't want to come back to work because they're afraid, people who don't want other people to come back to work because they're afraid. For businesses, how do I use these directives to get my business back open fully? What does it mean? So I was meeting with EDC this last week, and what we're looking to do is on June 28th and 29th to do some, if you remember the fire forums we had back a couple years ago, we had, around the county, and we had people attend. We're looking to do something similar and have a panel that would have mental health, public health, businesses from different sectors on that to talk about these things and just kind of help the community come together and figure out what going forward looks like. And we'd like to do this in a hybrid manner. So part of it would be virtual, and then part would be in person. So we're working on putting that together, and I think it's an exciting concept.
Yeah, I think that's a really great idea, to help engage the community. And, we do have a lot of work ahead of us in terms of recovery from the pandemic, and, getting back out there and re-engaging in the community, I think is a really good way to kick that off, especially heading into the summer months. And, we want to see people get back to life, and but acknowledge that there's probably going to be some confusion or anxiety around some things because of, how we've had to adjust over the past year and a half. So I like the thinking there.
Just so you know, though, David, I was on the call this morning. I really do not see L&I coming and saying, "Hey, it was all our fault, not yours." Good luck on that.
Hey, I tried because I thought of anybody,
but I don't think they're coming.
Because I thought if anybody having a panel, it would be great to have L&I come and talk to us about that. But they probably weren't going to show them.
I think they would probably run the opposite way.
Yeah.
I did have to ask though, and they said, well, I'll pass it up to my supervisor.
Of course they did. Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. Let's reach out. And I think one thing that we've done throughout this adventure, so to speak, is being out there and being able to answer questions and to provide assistance if we could. So I think that as a county, I think we've excelled at that, and with our other partners as well. So I think it's a great idea.
Yep. So more to come.
All right. Do you have anything else for us?
That should do it.
Commissioners, do you have anything for David?
I have one thing. Was today Hawaiian shirt day for EOC or something?
Yeah, it was Hawaiian shirt day.
Have...
And I toned it down. I have to say, I have a shirt that's so loud you have to hand out earplugs, but I did not wear that one today.
Well, thank you for not wearing that one.
Yeah, thank you, David. All right, anything else for him? Then we're going to go ahead and move forward. Mike, I saw you on here. Are you taking the next step? It is for Public Works, Utilities, and Waste Management.
Nope, you just got me. Oh my God, there's Mike. There you are.
All right,
You're on, Richard.
Who's running this one?
Mike is.
All right, let's do it. Mike, he said you are.
Okay. This is going to be real short today. We have one briefing item. It's time extension for the Kennedy Jenkins consultant, and Richard will take care of this.
There you go. Pretty much that's it. Time extension for the Kennedy Jenks contract. We are should be receiving the 90% design drawings this week. And we want to have a little time to go over those. And also the general sewer plan amendment is at about 95% and is almost ready to be submitted. And that's pretty much why we need the time extension to the end of the year. So we know we're going to have some back and forth with ecology on that general sewer plan amendment. No price increase, just time extension to the end of the year.
Anybody have any issue with that?
No issue for me.
No issue here. Oh, go ahead, Commissioner.
Oh, I just said I'm good.
Okay. You guys have anything else? Is that it?
The only thing else I'd follow up on is I'd sent you all some photographs last week of the conversion of Snyder Road there. Guys did a great job on that. Some pre-level and potlatch there. County Shop Road here, we just chip sealed even the shoulders. So they've done a fine job on that. And we're finishing up on McEwen Prairie Road, paving the shoulders out there if you haven't been by there. If you get a chance to stop by, they'd love to hear it.
I'd sure like a breakdown of what it's costing per mile to convert from gravel to chip seal. An up-to-date one. The last one I had was, 6 years ago.
Okay. Gravel to chip seal as in just for the gravel roads.
Yeah, what we're paying per mile. Where before we had a cost per mile of for asphalt compared to chip seal, compared to first layer of chip seal. I'd love to see another little breakdown like that, so we know for future planning of roads and what we might want to do or recommend as from the commission down on that for the future.
I will work that up and get that to you.
Thank you. Anything for Public Works or Waste?
You'd be happy to know your scale is almost installed. That should be completed today. The outbound scale at Eels Hill. It's looking great.
That's really cool. And thanks for the vouchers. I have been handing the solid waste vouchers out. People will call and come to the front desk and pick them up. So thank you.
Yeah, can
awesome.
You knock me off 10 more, please?
Yep. No problem.
Perfect.
All right. With that, we thank you very much. And we will go ahead and go on to commissioner discussion. Do we have any commissioner discussion? Okay, I guess not. Hearing none, I will entertain a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All right. Commissioner Trask has made the motion and Commissioner Schutte has seconded. Hearing no objection, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.